Saquon Barkley claims that the 2024 Eagles are a top 5 team all time in NFL history. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to pick who we think are the actual greatest teams of all time. I'm going to give you a few new age era examples. Tony's going to give you a few old age era examples, and then we'll pick one each at the end here. But let's start with the Eagles first, Tony. Do they rank anywhere near your top 5 of all time teams?
No. I mean, I thought they were really good. I do think that having the 2,000 yard season does
changes it
help
a little,
out,
yeah.
right?
And winning it, yeah. I will say that I had them probably in my top 5 of like the last 20 years, maybe, or 15 years of teams. In this little group, I think, yeah.
Yeah, if you told me like if you took all the teams since the year 2000, I don't know.
Right around 5 is where I would have them.
You got that Greatest Show on Turf Rams team.
They're on this, yeah, for sure.
Where it's on that.
Well, last night, is that 1999 or 2000 though?
Either one.
They,
I mean, when
they played the Super Bowl in 2000, and then 99, I think, is the season, right?
Yeah, but like they still were that team in 2000 when they went back to the Super Bowl and lost to the Patriots the next year.
Would you rank this Eagles team above the 15-1 Panthers because they choked?
Yes, I would say. So. Yeah. I would say that they're ahead of that team. I still kind of like the Legion of Boom team, the first one that went to the Super Bowl.
That's actually the team that I picked of this era, let's say since 2000 as my number 1 team, was the 2013 Seattle Seahawks. They went 13-3. They went all the way to the Super Bowl and blew out Peyton Manning. Of course, they had Marshawn Lynch on that team, all these freaking nuts. And then the defense was the LOB with Richard Sherman, Earl Thomas, Cam Chancellor, Bobby Wagner in the middle, the crazy pass rush, and all that. But what takes it to the next level, we all know about the LOB, to me, is that they went to the next Super Bowl. They went back-to-back off the back of a defense to the Super Bowl, won that Super Bowl, in my opinion. The defense did enough to beat Tom Brady, and then the interception happens on the 1-yard line. Like, that team would have went back-to-back as a defensive-led team and beaten the 2 best quarterbacks of all time in back-to-back seasons and back-to-back Super Bowls, and maybe kept going. I think from there, instead of Seattle completely splitting up and the LLB breaking up, they recruit players. They recruit offensive players. They recruit defensive players, and maybe they keep going past that. But that interception literally caused the entire team to collapse because it exposed Pete Carroll and his deficiencies sometimes of being a bit, I don't even know what the right word is. It's not really selfish to try and help Russell Wilson win the MVP of the Super Bowl. But like when you just put Reggie Bush over the entire team and collapse an organization, you put Russell Wilson over the entire team and win in the Super Bowl, you collapse the entire organization as well. So if that never happens, this team may be looked at with the greatest teams of all time. So of this era, I'm going to go with them.
Yeah, I like it. I was trying to think of some other teams that...
other options are like Chiefs. So we're not going that way. The 07 Patriots are a team that definitely probably would be it if they would have won it.
To me, you don't have to win.
It still should be them.
You don't have to win the Super Bowl. That 07 Patriots team was probably the best team I ever seen. They were smacking people as soon as they got Randy Moss. Like, it was every game. And that's what makes the Giants Super Bowl win that much more impressive. Like, you don't have to win it all to be the best team that I've ever seen. And I'm going to prove that right now by saying the 1998 Minnesota Vikings, another Randy Moss team, where it was like, it felt like every single time that, and obviously it's not the case, because in the 07 season, Randy Moss had 23 touchdowns or whatever. In 07, he only had like 18. But it felt like every time it felt like every time he was going downfield and dominating. And they had Jake Reed and they had Chris Carter, and it was just such an exciting team. But that team also had a really good defense. I think that would have been one of the best Super Bowls, potentially, because the other team that I would put in there was like the 98 Broncos with Terrell Davis. And
they went back-to-back.
And they went back-to-back. That Super Bowl would have been the Vikings-Broncos, and those would have been two of the best teams that I've watched play football. Like that would have been a tremendous Super Bowl. The Broncos go on, and I think they clean the clock of the Falcons in that Super Bowl there. The other teams,
the Packers too. The Packers too. Don't forget.
That was the year before, and they didn't dominate. They didn't dominate the Packers in that Super Bowl.
Favre should have more than one, basically.
They didn't dominate them. If Mark Chmura catches a football, then that's a different. We don't need to get into that Super Bowl.
Okay. Anyway,
the 1992 Dallas Cowboys. This is kind of when I first started. Like, really, I'm 10 years old, and I'm watching football more regularly. I'm watching like the sports shows, the things that would the inside the NFLs that you could find. Like, I'm starting to just really consume football at a higher level. Didn't fully understand everything I was watching, but I had started playing football, and I started like watching, like, oh, the offensive line. Like people say the Cowboys offensive line is this. Holy shit, Mike. Like that 92 Cowboys team was good offensively, was good defensively, on the way to the Super Bowl. And then I also put the 2000 Rams on my list. I just think that like, you don't necessarily have to win the Super Bowl to be the greatest team. This Eagles team, could they go up against any team in history? I think whenever you have a defense that can play at that level, the way the Eagles played last year, and you have a superpower on offense, which is the ability to run the ball, and oh shit, like the Chiefs found out, you're going to take away the run? Well, our quarterback is good enough to go ahead and expose you in one-on-ones, because we also have A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Jahan Dotson. Like, we have high-level players all across. So, like, could they do that? Yeah, absolutely. Like, could they go head-to-head with any of these teams that we've talked about? Yes, they're in that conversation.
I don't know. There's one team that we didn't talk about yet. How's Saquon going to do running up the middle against the fridge? Does he get to bring Jason Kelce in to take him on, or like if the 1985 Bears take on 2025 Eagles, they might not be great at passing the ball. They didn't even need Walter Payton to win that Super Bowl. He didn't even hardly play.
I purposely didn't go back any further than 92 because there was a Washington Redskins team that was really good. I believe in like 1990, I think it was. There was a San Francisco 49ers team that was also extremely dominant there, I think in 89.
The Niners team we lost to. People don't realize how good that team was because they were 11-5 because of injuries that year. But once they got together down the stretch of the season, that team was fucking nuts.
Yeah, the 94 team with Steve Young, that was an incredible squad there too. I didn't go past 92 because I don't have like really strong.
You don't want to really like compare them
of that time. So I went back. I went from 92 to 2000 times where like I was pretty sure you didn't have any memory of that, and I kind of worked my way through there and picked the three best teams that I had seen from that era. But yeah, you can go. The 85 Bears would have been, a fun match.
The first super team, in my opinion, is the 1971 Cowboys. Here's their roster. Ready? Tom Landry at head coach, Roger Staubach at quarterback. They also had Bob Lilly still on the team. Dwayne Thomas was still on the team. Chuck Howley was still on the team. They had tackle Rayfield Wright on the team. Herb Adderley had left and came over to the Cowboys for this season. Mel Renfro had left and came over to the Cowboys for this season. Bob Hayes, Mike Ditka was at tight end on the Cowboys for the season. And Lance Altworth played one last season for the Dallas Cowboys and won a Super Bowl in his only year that he played as a non-Charger. Like this team, when you talk about the era, maybe these guys, guy for guy, isn't going to stack up against today's Eagles. But when you talk about that era, like that's a starting lineup of Hall of Famers, 15 Hall of Famers on one team.
The Steelers, there's a team.
Oh yeah, those Steelers teams with Terry Bradshaw, man, they had like Hall of Famer at every position.
Yeah. But you could go all the way from the 70s Cowboys to the Chiefs when the Tyreek Hill Super Bowl in 2019 or whatever it was.
That was one that I just don't want to bring up. I'll just avoid them.
But I mean, if we're talking about like what they really had on the team, it's like you're looking around at like the defensive side where you've got, L'Jarius Sneed and Chris Jones and Nick Bolton is coming into his own, and
Tyrann Matthew still got it.
Yeah, like That's just a team. That's a squad. And then offensively, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce.
And they've had like a LeBron-like run in the AFC. It's been stupid.
Yeah,
Well, what's the best team then you've ever seen? Like your final choice, if you had to pick, is it?
It's the '98 Vikings. Mike, okay. Like literally that season, I just remember thinking, and it's kind of partially also too because that's when I was really getting into fantasy football. I think I started playing fantasy football in like 1995, and then by '98 I was like really into it, and that felt like if you had Vikings on your team, because back then there wasn't PPR, so you wanted like touchdowns and yards and everything. It was like if you were smart enough to draft Robert Smith, the running back they had, or Chris Carter or Randy Moss, or Randall Cunningham, like you were set. You were made.
I'm going with the Seahawks, but I want to give the Patriots a shout out too. A team that I really wanted to put on this list, but it's just hard to because they did not dominate the regular season. It's like, where do we measure this? The 2020 Bucks. That is one of the best teams I think ever assembled altogether, but it took them like half a season to figure it out. So like they didn't just come out the gates and dominate like some of these teams we're talking about.
So that to me was probably, because of circumstances and everything, the most impressive Super Bowl.
Like when we started that season, I was like, I don't care if they start 0-4. I might still bet on them to win the Super Bowl this year because this team is just so good. They're going to get it together. Then they added Ndamukong Suh halfway through the year. That just took their D-line to the next level.
Yeah, like it was a really stacked, strong team. But we saw like as teams started to get back to things being a little bit more normal.
Because the Rams copied them right away, and then it went back to like kind of building.
But part of the thing is, it's like the same reason why the Lakers won the bubble championship that year. Is like you need that leader on your team that can galvanize every person that is associated with you to believe that this is possible. Yeah. Well, chaos is happening.
Yeah. Well, and look at the chaos. I think that's something that LeBron does too very well, and he did in that series specifically. Is like that run. It's like how can we use the chaos to our advantage? Even
people around you are getting sick. There's real things to be fearful of, while they're also pumping extra fear onto the TV. And you have to be isolated from family members and whatever. And it's like you need somebody that can keep you focused on something and being able to go out there and accomplish a mission and not just earn a paycheck. And that's difficult to do. And that's, I think, partially what helped that in that Bucks run to the Super Bowl. And it's like, oh, you have this guy that's almost written the blueprint over the last 20 years on how this run goes. And
going back to Scotty Miller, we're mentioning a lot of Heineke and a lot of Scotty Miller in today's show, but also takes balls, Aaron Rodgers.
Wait, what is it?
Takes balls, Aaron Rodgers. I will never forget for my entire life. The Buccaneers could have just kneeled out at halftime, and then Tom Brady stepped back and threw a Hail Mary to Scotty Miller instead. And then they win by a touchdown over the Packers in the NFC title game to go to that Super Bowl. And I'll always remember, like, that's the difference right there between Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. Fucking balls.
I mean,
who throws it up to Scotty Miller with the Super Bowl on the line? I don't know.
But it was a dime, too.
It was a dime.
Yeah. But
it was a dime. Yeah. One of my favorite moments watching football live, because I was so high on the Bucs that year, and I had so many bets against people who were betting on the Packers, which I don't know why you bet on the Packers in the playoffs. But yeah, there's our determination. 1998 Vikings versus the 2013 Seattle Seahawks. Comment who you guys think would win if they had the show down.
Flames, I went Mike on the mic. With something brand new, one time for your mind. He gave you fair warning. Now it's time to smack him in the mouth with that raw sports talk from the town. Sweet chin music to your favorite sportscaster.